The Ripple versus the SEC lawsuit is gradually coming to an end. In this video, I will be reviewing with you some important dates so far in the Ripple versus the SEC lawsuit and some dates to look out for in the future. Stick with me till the end to find out more. If this sounds like something of much interest to you, be sure to check out this new video starting now. Hello everyone and welcome to our channel, where we talk about the latest updates on XRP and the cryptocurrency world in general. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, we happily send you a special welcome. We invite you to hit on the notification bell so you never miss another video. We are announcing that this channel has a giveaway of 200 XRP. To stand the chance of participating, all you have to do is simply subscribe to the channel, like this video and comment with the hashtag XRP, and the winner will be announced on the 15th of May. The long-running court case between Ripple Labs and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, which could set a precedent for the whole cryptocurrency industry, could come to an end after the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit entered its third calendar year. In late March, the price of Ripple's XRP surged by around 30% owing to reports that the case would soon be coming to a close. Lawyers for Ripple argued that a judge's ruling against the SEC in a court case involving the Binance crypto exchange, where the SEC argued unsuccessfully that Binance was an unregistered securities exchange, could have a positive impact in the ongoing hearing. On April 18th, SEC Chair Gary Gensler refused to say whether or not XRP was a security. On March 20th, lawyer John Deaton said he expected controversial comments by former SEC Director Bill Hinman, seemingly suggesting that cryptocurrencies were not securities, would be made public because they also had an impact on other legal cases. On February 20th, 2023, Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderete, said that he expected his company would, ultimately, be successful against the SEC's claim that its XRP cryptocurrency was a security. He tweeted, "The SEC has lost 4 of its last 5 cases in the Supreme Court, thanks to the few that had the courage and resources to fight back against the SEC's bullying and clinging to stretch legal positions that were not faithful to the law." Alderete's comments come not that long after bosses at the tech firm expressed their confidence that the case, which is currently before Judge Annalisa Torres of the United States Southern District Court of New York, would be decided relatively soon. On January 18th, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse told CNBC, "We're optimistic that this will certainly be resolved in 2023 and maybe in the first half. So we'll see how it plays out from here, but I feel very good about where we are relative to the law and the facts." Adding that he expected the final ruling in the Ripple lawsuit to be handed out in the single-digit months, Garlinghouse said, "We have always said that we would love to settle, but it requires one very important thing, and that is that, on a go-forward basis, it's clear that XRP is not a security." The SEC and Gary Gensler have very outwardly said he views almost all crypto as a security. And so that leaves very little space in the Venn diagram for settlement. Garlinghouse's comments came as final motions in the XRP lawsuit were put to the court, with the final ruling expected at some point this year. Until then, the Ripple lawsuit outcome is up in the air. There was speculation in December 2022 on Twitter that the case, which hangs on whether Ripple's XRP token is an unlicensed security, could have been settled that month after an Ask Me Anything with Cardano's Charles Hoskinson. He said he had heard rumors XRP versus SEC could be finalized around December 15th. However, Hoskinson later clarified he was relaying rumors and not anything more concrete, meaning that this piece of XRP lawsuit news ended up being mere speculation. The Ripple's SEC lawsuit filing ends. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also hit that notification bell to be the first person to get more updates about the latest happenings as regards to XRP. Both the SEC and Ripple Labs, the company behind the XRP cryptocurrency, had until November 30th, 2022 to submit a reply in support of their summary judgment motions, which were made public on 2nd of December, 2022. Prior to this, the parties had filed their initial motions for summary judgment, published on September 17, 2022. Stuart Alderete, Ripple's general counsel, told Capital.com, "The filings show that the SEC is acting outside their legal limits. The SEC is not looking to apply the law, they are looking to remake the law in the hopes that it can impermissibly expand their jurisdiction." Ripple was then handed a small win, as the judge hearing the case ordered the SEC to hand over the Hinman documents, which were exchanged on October 20, 2022. These mainly relate to a speech in which a previous SEC director said that Ethereum was not a security. However, the SEC subsequently applied on December 22, 2022 to prevent the Hinman documents from being made public in the XRP lawsuit, including any references in court papers submitted by Ripple Labs. There was some confusion on November 14, 2022 when Fox Business reported that a settlement had been reached in the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit. One of its reporters later revealed that a Ripple spokesperson had denied these claims. Meanwhile, a wave of organizations have come out in support of Ripple and submitted amicus curiae briefs to the court. A total of 16 different briefs have been submitted, with the industry leader Coinbase the latest to file its support. Crypto advocacy groups have also joined this list, including the Chamber of Digital Commerce and the Blockchain Association. In reaction to the first glimpse of the Ripple court case's end, XRP rallied in September 2022. It also rose after the Hinman ruling later that month. But a subsequent ruling on the relevant LBRY case, which labeled that cryptocurrency a security, set XRP's price spiraling down. Now to the filings. Both the SEC and Ripple Labs filed motions for summary judgment, made public on September 17, 2022, to the judge in the case, Annalisa Torres of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. On September 21, 2022, the court reviewed and granted the request for the Chamber of Digital Commerce, an American advocacy group for blockchain technology, to file an amicus curiae brief. The brief supported Ripple's argument. It said the court has previously asserted, correctly, that a digital asset is not a security solely by virtue of being represented in digital form or recorded on a blockchain ledger. The SEC took no position on the brief, according to defense attorney James Phelan. However, the SEC said it may request more time if more amicus briefs were granted. In response, Ripple's defense team said, "This is yet another transparent attempt to further delay resolution of this case, and the court should reject it. Trials and juries are really to determine if there's uncertainty about facts. The facts aren't in dispute here, the law is in dispute." He said, "We think the judge has the information to make a ruling, and we think that it is very clear that the SEC is grossly overreaching its authority." Garlinghouse criticized the SEC again on CNBC the following day. He said, "We think this is just a gross overreach of the SEC, trying to wrest control of that uncertainty that has existed on regulation." Alderity also commented on the need for regulation. He told Capital.com, "We will continue to fight this case so that the industry can get the regulatory clarity it desperately needs so that crypto innovation can flourish in the United States." In October 2022, the SEC and Ripple Labs submitted motions of opposition to the counterparty's summary judgment filings. The legal teams restated their positions on whether XRP should be classified as a security. A deadline of November 30, 2022 was set for Ripple and the SEC to file their replies in support of summary judgment, which were both published on 2nd of December. The same day both parties met to discuss any redactions in the court filing, and the summary judgments were made public on December 5. On December 12, 2022, Judge Torres granted an application by both parties that set a deadline of January 4, 2023 for non-parties to ask for court materials to be sealed. This was followed by the judge denying an SEC application to redact the names of the consulting firms that assisted its expert witnesses on December 19, 2022 as part of a series motions, which were granted, to seal court documents in connection with expert challenges. This prompted a time extension request on December 20, 2022 from the SEC so it could file expert challenges, also known as Daubert motions, by January 13, 2023, which was approved a day later by the judge. This later led to Ripple slamming the SEC over the amicus brief opposition. The private charter jet company TapJets and the payment provider iRemit were the first to submit amicus briefs in support of Ripple. Both argued that the blockchain company was vital to their business. However, the SEC asked the judge to deny these requests. The commission argued that the letters failed to explain the relevance with the ongoing court case. In response, Ripple strongly stressed that the briefs provide an important perspective to the court on whether investors expected XRP profits. It said, "If the SEC cannot evaluate the veracity of such claims, then it had no business bringing this litigation in the first place." On October 11, Judge Torres approved TapJets and iRemit's request to submit these briefs, giving them 3 days to file their documents, which were made public on October 14 and October 12 respectively. Since then, more industry players have requested permission to send in amicus briefs in support of Ripple. A total of 16 different organizations have requested to submit briefs, and the judge gave a deadline of November 18th to file these documents. The latest to submit a brief was the Coinbase cryptocurrency exchange, which told the judge that Ripple did not have enough notice to comply with asset security laws. This was officially filed on November 14th. In its submission, Coinbase said, "The absence of formal rulemaking has led to unexpected enforcement actions like this one that create market uncertainty and profoundly disadvantage U.S. trading platforms like Coinbase as they compete with offshore platforms in jurisdictions where there is no risk of regulatory enforcement surprise." An amicus brief from the Blockchain Association, a crypto advocacy group, was seen as another important addition to Ripple's argument. It announced on October 28 that it was standing in support of Ripple. Kristen Smith, the executive director of Blockchain Association, said in a statement, "Ripple's decision to fight this case in court provides an opportunity for the industry to push back against the SEC's regulation by enforcement agenda and open the door to modernized standards for the industry." In response to these filings, the SEC filed a motion to extend the time to reply to these briefs with the new deadline proposed for November 30, 2022. It also requested that any additional amicus briefs be handed in by November 11, 2022. Ripple consented and revised dates were adopted. Now, the Ripple versus Zakinov crucial class action hearing. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and also hit that notification bell to be the first person to get more updates about the latest happenings as regards to XRP. The hearing was held via Zoom on April 26th and had space for 500 registrations from the public. XRP community attorney John E. Deaton, who is an amicus in the Ripple SEC case, also filed for amicus status in the Zakinov litigation. Unlike the SEC case, however, the judge assigned to the case did not allow amicus counsel to appear at oral argument. Accordingly, Deaton states about the course of the hearing, "I've never been so frustrated in my legal career watching this Zoom hearing. Mainly because I can't speak and address the questions and issues being asked by the judge. The problem is no one understands the tech." Remarkably, the judge stated during the hearing that she had even attended a seminar on crypto before this hearing and came out just as confused as she was before the hearing. Accordingly, the hearing can be described as very tedious and lacking in clarity. One example is the judge's debate on whether the more than 75,000 XRP holders who support Ripple in its lawsuit against the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission can be excluded from the class action. The backdrop is that the class action would include all XRP holders around the world, even in countries where XRP has already been classified as a non-security, like in the United Kingdom. In response, Nick Spear, the lawyer for the complainant Zakinov, stated that the 75,000 XRP holders are fake and therefore irrelevant. Spear subsequently explained how damage calculations can be made. Nevertheless, Judge Phyllis J. Hamilton replied that she is skeptical of the worldwide class action and explained that there is no precedent. Ripple attorney Andrew Michelson also discussed that XPR buyers didn't rely on Ripple, including overseas. He also presented evidence of the 75,000 XRP holders who support Ripple in the SEC case and do not want to be part of the class action. Michelson also laid out why a class is not a solution to force 74 holders to opt out. Furthermore, the judge inquired whether it matters why holders buy crypto and inquired about the Howey test as an objective test. She sought to understand that cryptocurrencies have a use case. Michelson laid out several of them, including cross-border payments, and agreed with the judge that the use case is important. In addition, the Ripple attorney emphasized that the plaintiffs were making a purchase on the secondary market and thus there was no written contract between the plaintiff and the defendant. Ripple's counsel also endeavored to explain how the complainant's experience in day trading reflected that he was not dependent on Ripple's efforts by buying and trading intraday. Zakinov's counsel, on the other hand, countered that marketing materials were relevant, that a contract was not necessary because of the scheme, and that the Mayfield case is clear. Thus, the findings from the hearing are limited. The judge is now reviewing the facts if Zakinov is allowed to lead the class. The outcome is open. The next date is May 8, 2023, when plaintiff Zakinov's expert disclosures are due. Now to an update on XRP's rally so far. After the filing of initial summary judgment motions on September 17th, XRP's price saw a steady climb. It rose to a high of 55 cents on September 23, 2022, a 71% increase from the 32 cents low seen a week earlier. The climb slowed slightly as investors awaited further news, but was reignited after the Hinman documents ruling. The token managed to break past the 50 cents barrier again and achieve a high of 54 cents on October 9, 2022. In October 2022, Garlinghouse said at the DC FinTech Week conference that the end was in sight and the lawsuit would end in the first half of 2023. The Ripple CEO also said that he would consider a settlement as long as XRP is not classified as a security. XRP climbed again upon the arrival of the new amicus briefs and the new dates proposed by the SEC. It peaked at 50 cents on November 5th, but then plummeted after the LBRY news. The token's price then dropped to 32 cents on November 9, 2022. It saw slight gains that month after rumors, announced by Fox Business, that a settlement had been made between Ripple and the SEC in the Ripple lawsuit. However, Eleanor Terrett, a reporter for the channel, revealed in a since-deleted tweet that a Ripple spokesperson had dismissed this claim. January saw some growth, with XRP closing the month at 40 cents. By March 29th, however, the crypto had rallied and reached a high of 58 cents. As of April 30th, XRP traded for 48 cents. Currently, all eyes are on Judge Torres as the world of cryptocurrency awaits the outcome of the Ripple court case. So we come to the end of this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Also, you can help enlighten others just like you have been enlightened by sharing this video to as many people as possible. Let's get this news everywhere, guys. If you are a true cryptocurrency fan, don't miss any of our content. See you tomorrow to talk about the latest news that concerns us all as a community.